Hey, time for another video. This one is going to be a kind of Q&A. I asked my patrons on Patreon some questions, or no, I didn't ask them any. I asked them one question, which was for them to ask me questions. So this video is going to be you're going to watch a time lapse of me drawing the last 8 pages of Choose Your Gnome Adventure, and I'll do a little talk over that, answering questions that were questioned me. Enjoy. Okay, to get this out of the way, I am drawing this in Procreate, an app on the iPad Pro, using an Apple Pencil. The sketching, the orange lines, was done in Clip Studio Paint, which I've used for many years and enjoy. But this is in Procreate. I'll also do the word balloons and text later in Clip Studio Paint on my Mac so that I can use the font that I want. That rhymes. Okay, let's get into the questions. Start with Matthew. What made you decide to start drawing and coloring the comic in Procreate instead of Clip Studio Paint? Matthew, you're psychic. How did you know I was just... That wouldn't be psychic because I just talked about it. That would actually be you just listened to me. Were you listening to me talk about it just now? Okay, anyway. Up until this point, this page here, I was using Clip Studio Paint for each page. Then I switched to Procreate, and it was really about experimentation. I love to experiment with my art and try new things, and in this particular one, I wanted to try a slightly different style with how this comic looked. I wanted it to feel a little more painterly or a little simpler in the shading. I found that when I'm using Clip Studio Paint, it's a fantastic program, but it lends itself to very crisp lines and shading, or at least that's what it does for me. That's how I think of it. So those brushes, I tend to work a little more technical and crisp. This one I wanted to feel more loose. So I went to Procreate because it has kind of a painterly feel to me. It's really just about that, honestly. Trying out a different style. I don't know that I'll always use this for comics, but I am really enjoying it. I'm enjoying the look that I am able to achieve in Procreate. I think Clip Studio Paint would just not quite allow me to think about the process in the same way. All right, let's see. Hope that answers your question, Matthew. Let's go to Chuck's question. Chuck in Detroit, how are you doing? No, I don't know where Chuck is. But I hope you're okay, wherever you are, Chuck. Okay. How often do you pull from photo reference for camera angles, lighting, scenery, poses, etc.? You've been doing comics for a while, so I'm wondering how much you are drawing from your mental library while working. I rely on my mental library far too often, I would say, to the detriment of my art. In all honesty, I use photo reference from time to time on client projects. But when it comes to personal projects like this, man, I don't use photo reference like I should. I have looked a lot at images of lighting and landscape and how the light works. And I've looked a lot mainly at other people's art and how they're interpreting the world, interpreting the world. It sounds weird, but I think I'm getting that word right. How they interpret things and kind of pulling from that inspiration. So, yeah, I look at reference, but not necessarily photo reference, which I really should be doing more of. I think it will only improve, even when you feel like you've got it nailed, and a lot of that is in your brain now, and you don't need to look at it anymore. It's still good to look at it. Norman Rockwell, he was taking pictures of the exact scene he was going to paint before he painted it, like complete with costumes, lighting, and actors that he wanted the end scene to look like. So great illustrators are doing it. You're only going to improve the more you look at reference and the more you experience. So yeah, I should be doing more with that. Good question, Chuck. Way to put me in my place. All right, next question. And Karu, I'd like to know how you chose your color palette for this comic. Did you choose colors that you like? Or did you work with some color scheme, for example, complementary or analogous colors? Or maybe you wanted to represent some emotions, for example, red for passion or blue for confidence. And Karu, all of the above, I would say. It varies from panel to panel and page to page. This one in particular, you can see I'm going to shift the colors around a bit. I will use some really crazy... Oh, you saw it right at the end. I shifted that top panel to be purple because I wanted it to be different. I wanted it to feel magical. So I'll use colors to invoke emotion or magic. I'll use, in the next page after this one, there will be a big red panel to show anger and frustration, stuff like that. So I'll use colors that way. I also like to use somewhat limited color palettes. I like the backgrounds often to be kind of monochromatic so that the characters can really stand out from the backgrounds. In the end, that is my ultimate goal. I want you to look at the characters. So whatever I can do oh dang, whatever I can do to accomplish that, I will do it. Whatever it takes. Yeah. So I'll use complementary colors often. Here's one rule of thumb I try and follow. I'll pick one dominant color that it will be the most saturated color, and then all the other colors I try and keep more on the desaturated side of things. It just helps to create a more harmonious color scheme. Of course, you can break that rule and put a couple of pops of additional color in there as well that are more saturated. But if you watch, I kind of keep things limited as far as what is being saturated, what's desaturated. But color is my jam. I love color. I love experimenting with color. So you have asked fantastic questions. Just try things out. Try new things. Don't be afraid to do some crazy weird colors. Like this page is crazy weird, but it was fun. And I feel like it evokes the emotion, and that is in the end what I'm trying to do. Tell a story about emotion and characters. That got deep and philosophical. All right, last question is from Joshua. I'm curious about your writing process. Be interested in hearing how you go about it. How much do you have written out in advance, with this being a choose-your-own adventure? Very little. I don't write the next page. I have vague ideas of what will happen based on the choices that are available, but that can change as I get to the actual page. Let's see. Seems like you'd be more fluid with books since they didn't have feedback, interactive. Yeah. So yeah, I have ideas, and I've even had thoughts about where I want the story to go in the future or characters that I want to introduce. However, it's already been derailed multiple times from where I thought it was going to go, and that's what I love about this story. The idea of this story was to not write a story. I just wanted to be able to create something fun to share while I'm in the process of writing other stories like Percival Pendragon. For other stories like my Flopnar mini comic, I've written them out in the sense of I take a post-it note for each page. I write a sentence for each post-it note that describes what will happen on that page, just one sentence. I limit myself. And then I can organize the story that way, and I know what's going to happen on that page. Then I'll break it down into panels, more detailed. Similarly, I'll just do a sentence for each panel. And the dialogue I will almost always leave till the end, till when I'm actually creating the page. Then I will create the dialogue, and I want it to feel fluid. I want it to be like, what would this character say in this moment, not what do I want this character to say. Though sometimes there's a good pun I need to put in there. Woo! Big heartfelt thanks to all my patrons. You're all my best friends. It was great answering your questions. If you are not a patron, you can be, for as little as $1 a month. You can help support videos like this, comics like this. You can vote on the outcomes of each Choose Your Gnome Adventure page, and you can get other cool stuff for more. For $2 or $5 a month, you can get free downloads, and you can ask questions. You can be a question asker too. Patreon.com/CamKendall. All these pages were from Choose Your Gnome Adventure, a weekly webcomic which you can read for free at gnomecomic.tumblr.com or on any of my social media profiles or on my Patreon page, which linky downy there. And when you're done with that, check out that video. Oh my goodness.